That's a lot of people. I'm going to put that on there because I don't do well holding that. Oftentimes when I have to hold this microphone, I start to feel like a stand-up comic. And we don't need that right now. So nobody wants to hear my bad jokes. Very first thing, as always, we give thanks to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, giving us our life and our health and our strength, allowing us to do what we do on a daily basis. We do that because we need Him, because we thank Him, because we're truly grateful for the land that He's placed us in and the freedoms that He's given us. And so we give Him thanks first and foremost. Well, here we are again. It is, what is it, Friday evening. You could be anywhere right now. You could be at the mall. You could be at a restaurant. You could be at home with your family. You could be anywhere right now. But you are in this room at a political meeting. Why? You are here because you care.
Because we love you.
You're here because you care. You're here because you care. You're here because when you wake up in the morning and you hear the bad reports on the television stations, you care. You're here because when you look at the inflation and spiraling out of control, you care. You're here because when you see the supply chain woes, you care. You're here because when you hear the reports of failing public schools and the bleak future of our children, you care. You're here because you're tired of our federal government not protecting the American people. And when you hear them making moves that do the opposite, you care. You see, we're here tonight. People will tell you they're here tonight for Mark Robinson. You're not here tonight for Mark Robinson. You're here for a cause greater than Mark Robinson. And guess what? I'm here for a cause greater than Mark Robinson. I'm here for a cause that I can't even see. I'm here for a cause that I can't even see and probably won't see. What do I mean by that? This is what I mean. When I take a look at what I'm doing right now at this moment, I am doing what I'm doing at this moment, not for me, not for possession, not to be some big shot who has a position that can pop his collar and have everybody know his name. I don't care anything about any of that. You know what I care about? I care about my grandchildren's children. I care about their children. I care about future generations yet born. I care about those folks that are going to be leading North Carolina 30 years from now, 40 years from now. I care about the fact that when they turn around and they look back at you and me and all of us, they see pictures of us, they look at us and say, this is my father, this is my grandfather, this is my great-grandfather. And they fought to preserve the rights that I have right now. That's what I care about. Because ultimately, that's what it's all about. It's about protecting the rights and preserving the rights that God has given us. And that's the reason why I'm running for governor. You know, I had a guy ask me one time, he said, why do you want to be the governor? You know, I thought about it for a moment while I was sitting in front of him. I looked at him and I told him, I said, I told him the things that I wanted to fight for as governor. But I never told him why I wanted to be the governor. I got in the car, was on my way home from Raleigh, and I thought about it. I said, well, why do you want to be governor? Then it hit me like a ton of bricks. I don't want to be the governor. I don't want to be the governor. I didn't want to be the lieutenant governor. Now I want you to examine that phrase. I don't want to be the governor. The major word there is one word, want. There is no want in what I'm doing. Let me explain. Let's say you could go back in time and you went back to June the 6th, 1944. You went to a place called the English Channel. You went into something called a Higgins boat. And you went and talked to some boys from Bedford, Virginia, from the 29th Infantry, who were sailing their way towards a deadly beachhead called Omaha. You asked one of those boys, why are you here? Why do you want to be here? That young man would turn around and probably look at you and say, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. But you see, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor and killed 2,500 American sailors. The Nazis have been murdering their way across Europe and have plans to come to America and enslave us here at our home. The world's freedom is in peril. My loved one's freedom is in peril. So it's not that I want to be here. I have to be here. The call has gone out to serve, and I have answered the call to serve. And I will do it up to and including my life. That would be the answer that you would get from that young man. I would submit to you that needs to be the answer that you get from each and every candidate that stands in this room and each and every elected official that serves in Washington, Raleigh, and right in your hometown. It's time for us to elect a crop of politicians that do not want to be politicians. They want to be servants of the people. It's time for them to stand up and realize we're not the leaders. We're the representatives. We are not the ones who should tell you how it is. We should listen to you and listen to your needs and get to work and deliver. And that's what I intend to do as governor. As governor, I don't want to govern from Raleigh. I don't want to sit in that office in Raleigh and send down edicts and tell folks that they can't open their business, can't go to church, how many people you can have over for Thanksgiving, and whether or not you should wear something on your face to protect yourself. That's not how we're going to govern. I'm not going to be a governor who's going to sit behind walls and do things that are counterintuitive to the success of our people. I'm not going to be a governor who would tell you to wear a mask and then take his off and go march with criminals. I want to be a governor who leaves the bonds of Raleigh. You see, because it is my fervent dream to grow the economy of this state. To grow the economy of this state. One of the things that distressed me most when I was campaigning for lieutenant governor as I traveled across the state was just how fragmented our economy is. Raleigh and Greensboro and Charlotte and all those places look great. But then you go out east and you look. A lot of people would call it no opportunity. I don't call it places with no opportunities. I call it places where opportunities have not been taken advantage of. You know, prior to 2010, we didn't have the ability to do that, did we, Jeffrey? Did we, John? We didn't have the ability to do that. Why? Because North Carolina was $3.4 billion in debt to the federal government. We were furloughing state workers. Teachers didn't get a raise for 6 years. Nobody wanted to come to North Carolina to do business because taxes were too high and regulations were too stiff. But we had a change in Raleigh, and some conservatives took over in Raleigh, and they applied principle to policy. 13 years later, we now find ourselves, not only are we not in debt to the federal government, not one dime, we have a $5 billion surplus, and we are the #1 business destination 2 years running. We have the financial wherewithal now to start in earnest the process to grow our economy from Murphy to Manteo, to grow it out of the bonds of Charlotte and High Point and Greensboro, all those places where we traditionally look for a supercharged economy. It's time for us to get on the ground and make substantive investments into the people and places that we could not before, so that this state will start growing into the true economic superpower that it can be. You know, I got a couple guys here. Do I have any other state representatives here? State reps, state senators currently serving. Any more? No more. Guys, you're going to have to bear with me. I know these guys are candidates. Don't care. Putting the candidacy aside right now, I have to give these guys credit where credit is due. And I do it all the time, and here's why. Our representatives in the House, our senators, they do a job for $13,000 a year, and it's a full-time job. And since 2010, they've turned this state around. So we every place we go, we like to give them the credit they deserve. They have worked hard for us, And they rolled out the red carpet to make sure that our economy is what it should be in this state. Now, that's right, give them a hand. Now, as governor, my plan is to take that red carpet, walk right down the middle of it, and bring every North Carolinian with me on a journey that will see this state truly grow. To change our state agencies and get our state agencies to understand something. You don't work for the state of North Carolina. You work for the people of North Carolina. The people inside those agencies and the people in Raleigh, including me, we need to understand that premise. That we are there not to serve the state, but to serve the people in the state. And see to it that they are successful. Growing that economy will be our number one priority. But you know, right along with that number one priority goes another priority we can't do without. We will not be able to grow our economy without. And that's making some change in education. Right now, the saddest statistic in this state, I believe, is this. That we spend 59% of our state budget, correct, on public education. Our prior budget was $30 billion. We spent 16.1 on public education. And statistically speaking, our children can't read on a grade level. That is the saddest statistic in this state. It is an F. It is failure. Before I go any further, just let me say this. It is an F that I will not put on the desk of our teachers. Our teachers did not create the system that they're working in. They did not create the policies that they have to struggle with to continue to provide our children with the education that they so desperately need. Our teachers are not paid well. They are not respected. They are not protected. How in the world can we hold them to a professional standard if we're not doing those things? Indeed, they did not create this system. This system was created by an educational bureaucracy that is bloated and disjointed and has zero accountability. You see, you went to the polls and you voted for someone who's the superintendent of public instruction. And you think that that person is in Raleigh, holding sway over education and doing the things necessary. No. The real power lies with something called the state school board. And the state school board is appointed to 8-year terms. And they're not accountable to you or me or parents or teachers or students or anyone else. That has got to change. And I don't care what it is we have to do to change it. If there's one institution where success needs to be rewarded and failure needs to be held accountable, it is in education. Educating our students is the future of this state and this nation, and we need to act like it, and we need to bring accountability to education in North Carolina, and by God, it's one of the things I am determined to do. And I've got a bunch of people in the House and the Senate that are right there with me. We're going to make sure that it happens. Because guys, we got to get back to classical education. We got to get away from agenda-driven education. We got to get back to reading, writing, and mathematics. We have to get back to things that teach our children how to operate in their society, like civics and history. And here's a big one. We have to start getting our children career ready. Notice what I said. I did not say college ready. I said career ready. That means a K through 12 education here in North Carolina should prepare you for a 4-year university degree, if you so choose. A community college degree, if you choose. A career in the United States military, if you choose. Should provide you what you need to work in the family business, if you choose. Or to start your own business, if you choose. But we once again need to open up the world to our students. And it starts with a true quality education that is based on teaching and based on the solid principles that got us to where we are. Not the principles, the things now that are dragging us backwards. You know, somebody was lamenting to me about the other day about children not being able to read in cursive, and they said, well, why in the world would a child need to be able to read in cursive anyway? I said, I don't know. There's a pesky little thing called the Declaration of Independence. Those time-honored traditions that we went through that taught us to get to where we are got us to a level of success. We're now starting to see our children not learn those things, and we're starting to see them not be successful as we are. If we continue on the same trend, the next generation won't be successful as them, and on and on. And if they're not, how can our economy thrive? How can our state thrive? How can our future be bright? It won't be. Reformation in education in North Carolina is a question that must be answered. And failure is not an option. It's going to be a Herculean task. But we can do it if we have all the right pieces in place. And what are the right pieces? The right pieces are a supermajority in our legislature. The right pieces are a Supreme Court and Court of Appeals that are dominated by constitutional conservatives, not people who legislate from the bench. The right pieces are an Attorney General named Dan Bishop. And I don't know, we could get a governor that maybe, I don't know who it could be. Might be there's a few people running. I could give you a couple of names or give you a name of somebody that could fill the bill. But we got to have all the pieces, folks. We got to have all the pieces. And I believe we're going to get them. Because folks are tired of the status quo. Now, let me take this microphone off here. Because I've got something I've got to say that I normally don't say. Now, my last primary, I didn't say a thing about any of my primary opponents. And I've got 2 primary opponents now. Let me be clear on one of my primary opponents. One of my primary opponents is the current state treasurer. To the current state treasurer, I say this: best of luck to you. Hope you do well. You've been a great treasurer. I've never said anything bad about you in the past. I'm not going to say anything bad about you now. You've done a great job, and you're a formidable opponent. Best of luck to you. But now, to my other opponent, I got plenty to say. You know, farming is as important to national security as the United States military. A nation that cannot feed itself cannot survive. In North Carolina, the hallmark of North Carolina has been farming. People who work in the soil to feed us. Now, imagine the irony of an individual who filed 500 lawsuits against farmers, made millions of dollars doing it. Now taking those millions of dollars, using those millions of dollars to try to be governor of the state that he tried to sue out of the agriculture business. If you wrote that and handed it to Rod Serling, he'd hand it back to you and tell you nobody would believe it. But here it is. Like I said, I don't oftentimes talk bad about my primary opponents, but I can tell you this right now. Nothing is going to please me more than to beat the pants off of him on March the 5th. Nothing. He needs to go back to chasing ambulances and get out of the business of trying to be the governor. I wouldn't vote for him to run a hot dog stand. Certainly wouldn't buy one from him. The nerve of this guy. And then the same individuals on television telling you, and telling all the world that Mark Robinson is an anti-Semite. That I don't stand with Israel. But when Israel was attacked, not only did I stand with Israel, I stood in Israel with the Israeli people to show our unity with it. So when you go to the polls, and as you're campaigning right now, I want you to keep in mind that you have a guy right now running for governor that has the audacity to think that you are a fool. While he tried to steal food off of your table, and indeed stole food off the table of family farmers, their livelihood, he's now using that money to try to convince you that he should be your governor. You remember that as you're out there campaigning. You tell people, that's the exact type of person we do not need in office. We need citizen servants, not citizens who serve themselves. So we're going to continue to fight hard, folks, because we got work to do. And again, this is not about me. This is about a cause greater than me. It's about standing up for this state. You know, from the time I was a little kid growing up on Logan Street in Greensboro, people have poured into me. People have encouraged me. People have guided me along the way to help me to become what I am today. I believe that God has placed me in a position now to pay that forward and to pay that back. And now it's time for me to serve all those people, to honor the legacy of those who helped me in the past who have gone on, and to secure the legacy of those who are not yet here. So we're going to fight like heck to make sure we win in March and make sure we win in November. And we're going to take North Carolina to its next great heights. And we want all of you to come with us. God bless y'all. God bless this person. God bless Person County. And God bless the great state of North Carolina. Thank you.